In this video, I'm going to deep dive into decentralized inference and why I think this will be a massive opportunity for crypto compute protocols and how you as a retail investor could potentially situate yourself to really ride this trend. So what is inference? Inference is basically what happens whenever compute is used to answer a question, generate text, perform a task, recognize an image, etc. This happens after the main training of the model, right? So you have like the pre-training and the training, and then, OpenAI comes out, announces their new model. Inference is what happens when you go in and you basically put in a prompt, and then it is like goes, I'm thinking, and then it comes back with an answer. That's kind of the day-to-day compute usage. Essentially, the more we use AI in day-to-day life, the more compute is going to be needed. So reasoning models, which are the newer types of models that are able to go and have kind of like a longer chain of thought essentially and go reason through a problem, these require 100 times more inference because they're going through so many steps. OpenAI's GPT-4 inference spend is supposed to be in the hundreds of millions annually, according to sources I've seen, because the model is queried billions of times every month. Jensen, the CEO of Nvidia, thinks that inference could drive AI demand to be 1 billion times higher than it is right now. Now, why does decentralized compute make sense for inference, right? Because you have these centralized, essentially, providers, right? Like these big cloud providers. But why could decentralization play a role here? Why could these newer protocols that are essentially promising to decentralize inference have it distributed versus in a big data center? Why would that be relevant? So inference is actually far less computationally expensive and memory intensive than training, right? Like pre-training is very suited for large data centers because it requires an extreme amount of coordination between different GPUs in a data center. Inference, on the other hand, doesn't require as powerful hardware requirements. There's a lot of work being done to be able to have inference be run on consumer devices like MacBooks. I asked ChatGPT to give me an analogy here, and essentially decentralizing inference is more like coordinating couriers delivering small packages. It's flexible, low risk, and scalable in comparison to decentralizing something like pre-training, which is like trying to build an aircraft in hundreds of different garages at the same time. You need precision, timing, and very fast communication, right? So they're completely different problems. And that's why I think decentralized training is going to take a lot longer, while decentralizing inference is going to be a lot easier. And you're already seeing teams do that successfully. So why would you decentralize inference? One is the cost efficiencies are much better. The second is that there's definitely aspects of this where having inference been done over like a larger network of nodes, etc., it can reduce some sort of centralization risks. I'm not big brain enough to really dive into that and see if that's legitimate or not. But theoretically, if you want to decentralize the whole AI stack and just not have big companies own everything, it does make sense to also decentralize inference. Now, for me, the big clear winner right now is decentralizing inference does lead to lower costs. And that's just because you can do a lot of really cool things, such as use token incentives to reward people, utilize ideal GPUs. So there's a lot of ways this can actually reduce your costs. Now, what are the major barriers to adoption right now? So there's a lack of reliability and SLAs amongst decentralized providers, right? So it's like they don't really provide guarantees that your basically inference is going to be done at a certain quality or a certain uptime. So that's a major issue. Lack of orchestrations, right? So making multiple GPUs work well together is something that can create a lot of issues. So there's also a lack of reliability in terms of not adhering to security protocols like SOC 2. I think that can be a big issue. Developer experience is also lacking in many cases. A lot of crypto teams seem to have zero sense of user experience, and that turns devs and enterprises off, right? Like they think that making things convoluted somehow makes them appealing. I don't get it. Now, in terms of Web 2 versus Web 3 inference providers, in terms of pricing and reliability, inference.net is a great example. They actually have significantly lower costs. They have similar reliabilities. I actually went and did a price comparison, and they were much cheaper. Shoots, from what I've seen, also has similar pricing to Web 2 competitors as well. So Shoots is basically powered by a BitTensor subnet, and they also have like pretty strong reliability. I will say the user experience on inference.net seems to be a lot simpler. Like these guys are far more like a traditional infra provider with like value proposition, super clear, 90% lower cost, start for free. Like these guys know what they're doing, right? Like they're not typical crypto devs. Other crypto protocols I've looked at have had either pricing that's hard to find, or they don't seem as reliable. So I think inference.net is like the first one that's actually using decentralized inference as a way to really reduce and drive down costs, and they're starting to get a lot of traction with it. So props to them. So I do think they will do well. Now, why is this a massive opportunity for teams that can figure it out? I do think that demand for inference is going to grow massively, and with using crypto incentives to incentivize people to share their GPUs, their devices, combined with the fact that by using these ideal GPUs, you can drive down costs, you could see a pretty big market for inference starting to build up, being provided by these crypto providers. Now, you're going to need good UX, you're going to need good business sense, you're going to need how to close customers, all of those things that typically crypto teams are bad at. However, I do see some teams like inference.net starting to make a move here. So if I were a retail investor trying to position here, I would look at which teams are actually starting to fill in this demand. With inference.net, I'm not sure if you can contribute resources to these guys or not, but I would definitely check them out, see if there's any way to contribute your own GPU. Not sure if they're doing consumer or just data centers right now, but yeah, these guys seem to be the most legit. If this video takes off, I can do a deeper dive in the future on them as well. Now, the main takeaway from this video is that inference is definitely in the AI stack one of the things that is more likely to be suited to crypto and decentralized systems in general. So we're gonna probably see some of these protocols take off. So if you do see any good decentralized inference products raising money, perhaps on a public sale, it's worth looking into that, because I do think you will see multiple billion-dollar tokens come out of this space. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're a founder who is looking for a go-to-market partner, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to brainstorm, give you some of my thoughts on your project and how we can help. I'll see you in the next video.